Hello once again to another edition of Cream City Cast, CreamCityCentral.com's weekly podcast, bringing you the latest in Milwaukee Bucks takes. And we're giving you the latest going on in Milwaukee, brought to you by our sponsor, theshepherdexpress.com, and their publications. Once again, fresh off a Bucks victory, here with Andrew Goodman, fellow Bucks writer at Cream City. Andrew, good win tonight.
Yeah, they needed a bounce-back win after that disastrous performance in Indiana, and tonight certainly felt like a taking care of business type effort. They did win 110-103, and that score is closer than the game really was. We saw the bench mob late in garbage time really just blow that game totally away, but we'll get into that later. But I was really impressed with the Bucks starters tonight. All of them had a plus-minus in the plus range. My MVP of the game is actually Malcolm Brogdon, 6-10 from the floor, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Excuse me, 8 rebounds. Oh, can we start over?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, man.
No, you're good.
All right, tell me when you're ready to go.
It's whatever. I'll just edit it. Just go whatever.
Should I start from the MVP?
Yeah, just go ahead.
My MVP from tonight's Bucks victory was none other than the president himself, Malcolm Brogdon. In 37 minutes, he shot 6-10 from the floor, 14 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks, no turnovers, and he was a plus 20 on the night. This was a great all-around effort from the president. Who's your MVP from tonight?
I think I would have to go with Giannis is the easy choice. Brogdon you took. I'm going to go with John Henson. I think John Henson has really solidified himself in that starting center role. I think his play is silencing the DeAndre Jordan rumors itself. Tonight he had 14 plus 22, 10 rebounds. He had 5 offensive rebounds and he had 2 blocks. What really could you ask for more from a starting center? He's not the main scoring option. He knows his role, block shots, be long, rebound, score around the basket. And John Henson has filled into that role very, very nicely. And it's good that he's done that because Thon Maker has been struggling, to say the least.
Yeah, struggling is putting it lightly. And when John Henson plays like this, the Bucks are going to be pretty close to unbeatable night in and night out, but he's just got to bring that consistency. And what I'm really impressed with Henson is his field goal percentage. He's one of the top dogs in terms of field goal percentage in the NBA, and I think that's really a testament to how much he's worked on that left-hand hook shot. So glad to see steady improvement from Henson throughout this year. Best season of his career for sure.
Absolutely. And, I think this is about a lot of NBA people, writers, and media professionals, whether it's ESPN or Fox. I understand it's a now business, but a lot of these guys that are rookies or just coming into the league in their first couple of years, they need a couple years to get their footing in. Especially with the one and dones that have been happening, I think people need to give them more times for their bodies and their games to develop. I understand John Henson was one of those one and done guys. I think he was there for North Carolina for a couple of years. But that's what I'm saying. It takes longer for some people to get acclimated and to feel comfortable playing this kind of role because this is the first time Henson's been asked to play this type of role.
Right. And, now that he has a consistent role as a starter, that'll only hopefully help his confidence. And, knowing going into every game, okay, I'm the starter, I'm going to be getting, this amount of minutes and I can prepare properly, rather than, oh, am I coming off the bench one game or am I starting, rather than having his role pretty much up in the air. And I think you benefit from starting Henson over Thon Maker there because he's a little more experienced in that end.
Well, absolutely. And I was listening to the game. I was on my way home. I was listening to the radio at first, and Dennis Krause does a nice job on 6:20 a.m., kind of giving some little nooks and crannies that he looks at during the game. And I noticed also when Thon Maker catches the ball in the post, he's very, very slow to make his move, whether it's dunking or a regular shot. When he catches the ball, he may be open, but by the time that he gets it to the rim, there's already a player back and ready to defend him. I can't remember how many times I look at it this season and he has a wide open dunk, but it ends up either being a missed dunk or, it gets blocked or it gets fouled when it should be an easy two. Do you notice that also?
Yeah, of course. When he's in the post, it just looks really unorthodox how he'll take, his little gather step and then come up for a little hook shot. He tried that on Maurice Spates, and if he went 1 second earlier, he would have had a wide open uncontested dunk. But instead, he took his time, took long time to develop, and then he threw up a brick over Maurice Spates. But his struggles continue. 1 of 5 from the floor tonight, 5 points, minus 15 in 18 minutes. So
yeah, I mean,
it's hard to play him.
It is. I mean, you have to play him because you're banking on that experience. And I don't know. Obviously, John Hammond's not here anymore, but it would appear that yet another first round pick in the post Giannis drafting has failed. I mean, Rashard Vaughn. At least with Milwaukee, I'm pretty sure we can write his ship off. Jabari, obviously, with his injury concerns, still a good player. Wouldn't consider it a bust. I mean, injuries happen, and I don't think that's necessarily on the people that draft him. I mean, who can foreshadow that happening? And then you even think about DJ Wilson, 3 minutes tonight, kind of running around like a chicken with his head cut off, in my opinion. I think that the Bucks' first round needs to get a little better, and I think we need to stop trying to recreate the Giannis situation.
Yeah, just to harp on your point about DJ Wilson, he only played 3 minutes, but those might have been the worst 3 minutes I've ever seen any member of the Milwaukee Bucks play. No points, 2 turnovers, nothing, just the 2 turnovers, minus 10. That's really, really, really hard to do. It's kind of impressive, actually, how bad he was.
It really is. I mean, yeah, that is pretty rough. One thing I would like to note on the bench, Sterling Brown actually led the bench in minutes played. I understand he had a lot of garbage time minutes at the end, but he did finish with 21 minutes played, which I'm not opposed to, especially in a game as such. He only had 2 points, shot the ball 4 times, 7 rebounds, which was pretty good, a steal and a block. But I'd like to see, 4 shots in 21 minutes. I'm not sure exactly how many of those were spent in garbage time, but in those times, I'd really like to see him be more assertive with his scoring. Wouldn't you? I mean, he did shots where he scored 11 last game against Indiana, but I mean, might as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you just said, after that, disastrous performance in Indiana, he took over in garbage time, really. He was very aggressive. But I really like what he brought tonight, although, 1 of 4 from the field, 7 rebounds, not going to jump out on you if you look at his stat line. But he really brought it on the defensive end. He was getting under Aaron Aflalo's skin when he was in the game, and he was also talking trash with Mario Hezonja. So I really like seeing that toughness from Sterling Brown for sure.
He definitely plays with some swag, and I think the Bucks need a lot more of that on the bench. And maybe he was a little upset about the popcorning in his vehicle. I mean, I would be. Maybe threw off his jumper a little bit, threw off the offensive game, which was very funny. I thought just watching Giannis's reaction on that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, but one thing I do want to mention about the bench is Tony Snell. I don't know if you remember, but in that game at Oklahoma City, Giannis had a ridiculous block on Russell Westbrook, and he came down on Tony Snell pretty hard. Tony Snell had a really good game that game in Oklahoma City, but ever since Giannis landed on him, he hasn't really looked right. And I wonder if that injury is a testament to how poor he's played the last 2 weeks or so.
Was he in? Did they mark him as injured after that?
No, he played through it.
He played through
it,
all of it.
I just find it kind of a coincidence that ever since then he's really struggled.
Yes, I think that could possibly be it, but it may also be, unfortunately, the Tony Snell of old has come back around, because the beginning of the season this year, I mean, he was top 15 in 3-point percentage. I mean, he was on fire. He was probably he was probably our best 3-point shooter for a brief period of time during this season. And yes, he gives you those defensive minutes, but you can't really play him more than 17 minutes a game as he's played tonight if he's not scoring.
Right. And, just to harp on that, starters did excellent tonight. John Henson, plus 22. Giannis, plus 22. Chris Middleton, plus 16. Eric Bledsoe, plus 19. Malcolm Brogdon, plus 20. Now you get to the bench. DJ Wilson, minus 10. Thon Maker, minus 15. Matthew Dellavedova, minus 6. Sterling Brown, minus 10. Sean Kilpatrick, minus 10. Tony Snell, minus 13. So quite the polar opposite between the starters and the benches.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, the exact polar opposite. I do think that, Jason Kidd did not announce, but he said in the pregame media time that Jabari is about a month out. When Jabari does return, I think that will definitely give more flexibility to the Bucks. I think maybe even Jabari off the bench for a brief period of time could be something that they should dabble in. But I also think that kind of with that last group, there's no one to really – all those guys, if you look at everyone on the roster, on the bench, Wilson, Maker, Delly, Brown, Kilpatrick, Snell, they can't score by themselves. They need a facilitator. So having them paired with, Giannis or Bledsoe or Middleton is something that they need. Because if you watched in the fourth quarter, Snell was out there with them. None of the big guys were out there at the late part of the fourth quarter when the Magic started making their run. Those guys don't know how to create for themselves yet necessarily. So I think that's kind of where you try to fit Jabari in and say, if I move Jabari to the starting lineup, can I now move Brogdon back down to the bench? Because I think that's probably your best bet.
Right. When Jabari Parker comes back, that'll definitely take some pressure off the bench. But in a blowout like tonight, you have Giannis, who played 34, Chris Middleton, 36 minutes, Brogdon, 37 minutes. Like I just said, when Jabari comes back, there'll be a lot of staggering. And hopefully, the bench will pick things up. You'll see more minutes for Dellavedova, hopefully for Sterling Brown, and even Sean Kilpatrick. And it'll be really interesting to see what they do with Tony Snell because, when I'm assuming whenever they bring Jabari back, it'll be off the bench. So if you throw him into that, bench unit, it's not looking so bad.
No. Well,
especially if you play him alongside Chris Middleton or Giannis, Bledsoe, one of the marquee three.
Right. No, you're exactly right. It will really be interesting to see how that transpires and what Jason Kidd decides to do upon his return. Because they're not going to let him play like crazy when he comes back, but we'll see. Now I just wanted to preview the big game on Friday, Bucks and Warriors. Albeit the Warriors are very banged up right now. They're playing right now against the Clippers. Steph Curry sprained his ankle before the game during a shoot-around in what is called a freak injury with his ankles. I wouldn't be shocked if he just twisted it and it was that bad. Klay Thompson is resting tonight and is out. KD's suffering from a right calf strain. Draymond with some right knee soreness, and Iguodala with left knee and hip soreness. Those three played. I do think the Bucks will win on Friday. I think the Bucks match up very well with the Warriors, actually, as do many people. But I think you're definitely going to see Curry sit that game on Friday just to be extra careful. And I wouldn't be shocked if KD, Draymond, or Andre Iguodala took a day off after playing today on Wednesday.
That's going to be an excellent matchup. I'm really excited to see Giannis and KD go at it. There's a lot of mutual respect in that matchup for one another because when Giannis came into the league, he would always talk about how much pride he would take into playing against the superstars like Kevin Durant. He said a lot of glowing things about Kevin Durant. I don't know if you guys remember, but when KD was still at OKC, it was Giannis's rookie year. It was a game in OKC. He just had this monster block on KD, and I thought that was funny because now you have KD saying, Giannis has potential to be one of the greatest players in NBA history. So I like that aspect. But for me, this game, it's going to come down to the defensive end. Bucks are 29th in the NBA at three-point defense, allowing their opponents to make 38.6%. And as we know, Golden State, they'll have to hoist it up from downtown. So for me, it's really going to be how many threes is Golden State going to hit?
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks this year have been giving up some records for most 3-pointers made in a game for other teams. I think that you're right. That will be the where it comes down to. Now, if Steph Curry ends up playing on Friday, I don't think the Bucks will win. Just because I don't think that there's so many shooters everywhere, and it's almost unfair. But it is unfair. But
it really is.
What I see is really the issue is you're right. You're not gonna be able to outscore the Warriors. The crowds, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. It's going to be high intensity. It's going to feel like a playoff game. And I think this and the Cleveland games are telling signs of how this team will play when it matters in the playoffs. Because you can play Toronto in January or whatever and lose and whatever, that's fine. But this is like a statement game. It's on ESPN on Friday. The whole world's going to be watching. Golden State versus Milwaukee. KD versus Giannis. And I think Bledsoe's going to have a big game, and Middleton's going to have to be on. That's very important, that Middleton is on. You can't have a 14-point performance out of Chris Middleton on Friday and expect to win.
No, I like how you bring up Chris Middleton and having a good game against a good team because, we haven't really seen that from Chris Middleton. He typically struggles or doesn't show up against good teams. So this is a really good barometer. And, I don't know if you remember this, but LeBron James last year after the Bucks took it to the Cavs, he said that the Bucks, that those young guys, they only really get up for, marquee games against the Warriors, Cavs, and teams of those upper echelons. And he's got a point there. He's right. He's absolutely right.
And that's why I feel like they'll at least be in it, because it's some weird curse that they have. Maybe it's not a curse. It's kind of just being young, to be honest with you. You can see it at high school, young teams in high school that, man, they could play really good against one team, but, like now they just beat Orlando, the Bucks, and, now they have to go against the Warriors. I mean, I can't really see much of more of a 3-6, a 180 in those two teams, so they're going to have to bring it. I wish they would have rested Giannis a little bit more, and they would have, so you'd be a little more prepared for Golden State, but rest won't be the reason why you're not prepared. You got to be ready for that game no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the Bucks tonight, they shot 4 of 19 from downtown, so their struggles continue from deep, and they're getting good looks. They're just not hitting their shots. So wonder what it'll take for that trend to break. And then from the free throw line today, they were awful. They were 16 of 25, which rounds up to 64%. So you're going to need a lot more than that if you expect to hang with Golden State.
And I bet you Tony Snell's going to play more against Golden State just because they're going to need him to defend Klay Thompson. Because it takes a certain type of player to be able to run around and guard Klay Thompson the whole time. So Tony Snell's going to be in some positions where he's going to have to make some big shots, because when he's on the floor, if they go, because they'll probably have to match and go small with the Warriors, when Green's their 5 and Giannis will have to be the 5. So they're going to be dummying probably Snell, and he's going to have to hit some big shots to get him out of it. That's just kind of where it's going to the game's going to have to be won. And, the Warriors are coming in. I don't know how they'll finish against the Clippers tonight. It's a 2-point game right now in the third, but they'll be coming in hot, either on a 5-game winning streak or just a 6-game winning streak or just losing. So it'll definitely be tough.
And, another chance for these guys to shine. Games on ESPN, so a lot of people will be tuning in for that one. Really excited to see how Giannis is going to play in his first matchup against the Warriors this season.
Yeah. Can I get your prediction?
I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think Golden State's going to take this one.
Close?
I think it'll be a good game. It'll be close, but I think at the end, Golden State has way too much firepower.
I think if the Bucks keep the Warriors under 115 points, they'll win.
Okay, if the Bucks keep the Warriors under 100 points, I will buy everyone that listens to this podcast a scoop of ice cream. Ooh. That's how confident I am that that's probably not going to happen.
We've been getting some pretty good views lately, so
If you're listening to this and the Bucks hold the Warriors under 100 points, I will Venmo you money for ice cream.
Yep. Hit him up on Twitter at Andrew_Goodman3 and demand your ice cream, folks. And demand your ice cream. I will not take that bet because who knows? The Bucks are delis out there. He's just gritty, man. I mean, I'm telling you. I'll say I'll give you an exact score. It's gonna be 109 to 105, and the Bucks are gonna win.
Okay, I'll give you a score too. I'll give Golden State 118, and I'll give the Bucks 105.
13 points. Okay.
Hey, I don't count losing by 13 to Golden State to be that horrible, because they can score 13 points within a matter of like 3 possessions.
I mean, lose by 20 to Indiana, lose by 13 to Golden State, whatever. Let's just keep tossing. Just keep tossing out the L's.
Just the randomness continues.
Yeah. If you want to tweet us your score predictions, and if you get it right, maybe I'll buy some ice cream or whatever.
We'll think of something. We'll think of something clever.
We'll think of something. Do you want to drop the Shepherd Express Milwaukee Minute for us, Andrew?
Yeah, of course. So the Shepherd Express Milwaukee Minute, of course, presented by Shepherd Express. Just wanted to give them a shout out again. Super, super talented group of writers over there, and what they do is just excellent. Wanted to thank them giving us the opportunity to sponsor our podcast. And this week's Milwaukee Minute is by Evan Ridlewski, called the Milwaukee Hip Hop Roundup. And what Evan does is he dives into history of Milwaukee-based hip hop artists, and he gives out a lot of good artists, a lot of great info in that article. So go check it out on shepherdexpress.com, right in the music section.
Yep. Thanks, Evan, for dropping that in there, having a difficult last name to try to pronounce, but we fight through it over here at Cream City Cast, no matter what. And yeah, once again, thanks to Shepherd Express. They do a great job over there. You can check our podcast down there in the sports section. Check all this other cool stuff going on around in Milwaukee. Summerfest is coming around. The beer's flowing, and it's a great time to get your bearings in Milwaukee with the Shepherd Express. Well, that will do it for our podcast today. Bucks going off of a win against the Magic. You can check us out at creamcitycentral.com. We just posted the 5 takeaways from tonight's win on there. So you can check that out. You can hit Andrew up at Andrew_Goodman3. Hit me up at DylanPiccolo35. creamcitycentral.com, and our socials at Cream City Central. Thank you very much, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks.